R&B money.
The record to me is a great record. There's a lot of stuff on that record that's great. Smile, I'm Coming Back, which is obviously like a great song that I've recorded for 3 records in the last 35 years. Stay Home Tonight, It's Something, which is another record that I recorded for that record that I won a Grammy for 20 years later.
Well, you won a Grammy for it 20 years later.
So It's Something is a record that I recorded on my first album. I was working with Andre Fisher, who was a drummer for Rufus, and he took me to get this record that Brenda Russell had written called It's Something. It's a Brenda Russell, David Foster record. And so I recorded it for my first album, and then I recorded it for my live album, but I also recorded it with this band called Snarky Puppy, and we won a Grammy for it. And that was
that's incredible.
It's like 20 years apart.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Have you done that multiple times where you do a re-record of something later on?
I do a lot of covers. I do a whole lot of covers.
What's the method behind that for you?
For me, it's really making a love letter for the person that recorded that song originally. So for Forever, For Always, For Love, or Love's Holiday by Earth, Wind and Fire, or Angel with Anita Baker, or I mean, a lot of those records on the Joe Sample record are obviously covers. They're standards. Heaven Knows was my first single ever. That was a cover. You know, Jackie Graham had recorded that in London a couple years prior to that. A lot of the records that people know me for, much like my father, are not my original records.
Were you purposely doing that though?
No.
You love the song. You just like,
yeah. I like to sing stuff that I like. I mean, again, sometimes as a recording artist, they want you to, make a record that people know. What's the cover gonna be? That's a conversation a lot of times, particularly in the part of the recording world that I was in at the time. But I mean, I was 17 or 18 years old, I always say, before I realized that my father didn't write What's Going On. I didn't know.
Right.
Not because I wasn't a Marvin Gaye fan, but because everyone I saw play that record played his arrangement of it. And so I thought he owned everything he sang.
Gotcha.
I did not know John Lennon wrote Jealous Guy. So a lot of the records that he performed, he did not write. A Song for You is not his song, but people credit him for that song. So
whose song is it?
What?
I only know.
Look it up real quick.
The Donny Hathaway version.
Well, there is only one definitive version, which is his, and I believe that. That's my own biased opinion. But
I'm with you.
Not his record. Yes, it's yours and my, you and me together.
Wow,
but that's not.
I did not know that.
You've Got a Friend. Obviously, he didn't write. There's a lot of records that my dad stole from people.
Carpenter, Simply Red, Jesse Campbell, Willie Nelson. Who's
the writer for A Song for You? You know who it is. You looking it up?
I am.
Because I don't.
You're gonna know it when he says it. I just can't call it up right now because I haven't had any breakfast. That's why.
Leon Russell?
Leon Russell. Absolutely.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Absolutely.
Even the arrangement, like the piano.
That's Daddy's arrangement. He's playing it, but
he playing.
But it was an already recorded song.
Wow.
For all we know, that's an old standard. You know that one.
Nope. I know the song. I don't know that it's an old standard. Yeah,
it's an old standard, and even for when he's playing it on that record, I think the story is that Roberta is telling him the lyrics in his ears while he's singing.
No way.
Yeah.
No
Too
way.
cold.
Yeah.
Too cold.
But that's the approach to a standard or a cover is to first internally is to own it.
Yeah.
In some way. But mostly it's to stand beside the thing that gave you the impetus to create that thing, like a love letter to that.
Impetus. I love that word.
I mean, one of my favorite songs of yours is not your song, technically.
Yeah.
Which one?
I Can't Make You Love Me.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to go through like singing that song at colleges, and those kids thought it was my song.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I run into people all the time.
A lot of people think Christmas is a Chris Brown song.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways it is,
I can
but
see
she
that.
didn't write it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you put out this first album, are you now starting to make the connection with a bunch of the artists that you see and look up to and that kind of thing, or does that take time?
That takes time. I mean,
because I say that because you come from royalty. Are they picking up on it and saying, "Oh, we gotta"?
What's interesting is, I'm very young, but there are people reaching out to me like Marcus Miller, Joe Sample, Gerald Albright.
Yeah.
I got to go, Dave Sanborn. I got to go play with legends based on that record, which is funny because the record is not like a jazz record by any stretch of the imagination. But people could hear, I guess, the intent. And I started to work like kind of constantly with people of that ilk.
Of that ilk.
Yeah.
Well, your words.
And you're at Berkeley at this time, or you're still in high school?
I graduated when the record came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
1990.
You're a baby.
You rocking and rolling.
And everybody's now reaching out.
Yeah, not everybody. Not everybody.
But the people you wanted.
Not my peers.
I got you.
Interesting. That's
not
interesting.
my immediate peers.
I got you.
Okay.
I mean, I did some work on, of course, I just draw all kinds of, I've done a lot of work. I had done a lot of work at that point with people sort of in my immediate circle. But then I started working with jazz musicians a lot. And I think it became complicated for the label because it was like, well, where do we put you? The 90s also is a vortex in terms of rhythm and blues music, particularly for Black girls. Like a lot of the girls that were coming up with me, like Shanice and Karen Wheeler and Janae. And, there's a lot of women trying to find their place in that industry at that point. And there's a bit of a vortex happening. Like the whole, like one day I went into Virgin after the second record came out and the whole Black department was gone. They had fired everyone, so it kind of like was that in the top of the 90s for Black music in a lot of places.
Do you think it was because like your gift was just, I don't use the word mature, but so.
Yeah, it was old. It was old and mature. Yeah.
So did they sign you as a jazz artist, or did they sign you as an R&B artist?
They signed me as an R&B artist because I had these cool demos that Renee and Angela had written. And one of them songs I can't find, and it's so good. I don't know whatever happened to it, but they signed me to make what ended up being, what was supposed to be like an R&B pop record, I believe. But when we got working, then it became like, oh, this is what this is. Like I used to have conversations with them about what to say on Video Soul. We would prep for interviews and they would say, who are you listening to? And I would say, oh, I just got the new Wayne Shorter album and I got a John Coltrane record that I really like. And they'd say, no.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. No. So you tricked them.
No.
You tricked them. Yeah. It's like, yeah. I'm gonna take this R&B money.
Hey.
But, because when we had this conversation with Robert Glasper, he was like, yeah, they're gonna give you $1,200 for the jazz album.
Absolutely.
Or $12,000.
Yeah.
But so
it was not,
you was out here with a big budget.
It wasn't a big budget. No, it wasn't a big budget.
No,
I don't think so. I don't know what that when you really reflect on it, what would have been a big budget in the 90s?
90s was rocking. Maybe a good.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money because I was in a kid group.
Oh,
we were on MCA and we probably spent about $750.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So there's a part of my career which again mirrors my father's career, which is that I'm never not going to make records or continue to be a musician and make music. But there is a commercial element to that part of the R&B money that missed me in the 90s because I was off doing other things.
R&B money.